November 4th, 2025. Ukrainian forces detected a group of Russian soldiers hiding under a bridge and immediately launched an FPV drone attack. The Russian soldiers hiding under the bridge noticed the drone and immediately began to flee. The soldiers panicked and scattered in different directions to escape the FPV drone's target, but one soldier was not so lucky. The FPV drone locked onto one of the Russian soldiers. Here is another Russian soldier spotted by drones in an open field. However, this advance did not last long, and he was targeted by an FPV drone. On November 4th, 2025, the Ukrainian Signum Battalion continued to target many Russian soldiers with drones. The next target this time was a Russian soldier using a vehicle. Before he knew what was happening, he became the drone's target. November 3rd, 2025. A fiber optic drone belonging to the Ukrainian security service entered an abandoned building. The drone pilot began searching the entire building, trying to find Russian soldiers. After exploring many areas, the drone suddenly detected a Russian soldier trying to hide behind a wall. Tried to hide, failed. Russian soldier captured by Ukrainian FPV drone. An elderly Russian soldier became the target of a drone just like that. A Russian FPV drone stopped a civilian vehicle. When the people in the vehicle saw the drone, they immediately got out of the vehicle and raised their hands to show they were harmless. And the Russian FPV drone continued on without attacking them. By the way, we would appreciate it if you could like our videos and leave comments to show your support. Russian soldiers were targeted by a Ukrainian FPV drone while conducting reconnaissance patrols in the field. The other soldier was unable to escape from the drone, and both of them lost their lives there. Once again, two Russian soldiers on a reconnaissance patrol became the target of a drone. Shortly after, the other soldier also becomes the target of the unmanned aerial vehicle. A motorcycle that had been camouflaged and concealed was also neutralized using a drone. And once again, Russian soldiers were detected by a drone in the same area in the same way. One of the soldiers escaped while the other was captured by the drone. Ukrainian paratroopers attached to the 79th Airborne Brigade attacked an abandoned house where Russian soldiers were hiding using TM-62M mines. The soldiers threw the mine inside and immediately moved away. No Russian soldier survived this massive explosion. Now the same attack is being carried out on another location where Russian soldiers are stationed. Russian soldiers prefer to hide in ruins, but none of this prevented them from being detected. Russian soldiers prefer to hide in ruins, but none of this prevented them from being detected. This time, an attack is being carried out on a shelter built underground beneath the ruins. Another mine was thrown inside. No soldier has any chance of surviving such a violent explosion. During the operation, which lasted all day, many Russian soldiers were taken prisoner. While searching with a Ukrainian fiber optic drone, a Russian soldier suddenly appeared right in front of it. Utterly defenseless against the silent intruder, he became its target. The Ukrainian security service launched a large-scale drone attack operation, successfully driving many Russian soldiers out of the region. In the attacks, which involved hundreds of drones, many Russian soldiers found themselves helplessly targeted by the drones. None of the soldiers managed to escape the drones. It is not entirely clear why Russian soldiers were constantly wandering around alone or without ammunition and equipment on the front lines. Every attack attempt by Russian forces was repelled by Ukrainian defenses. Russian forces suffered heavy losses in the Donetsk region. This time, a Russian soldier hiding in the forest became the target of a drone. The soldier, who was not noticed at first, was detected as a result of the drone's careful search. A Russian soldier walking among trees in the Donetsk region became the target of Ukrainian FPV drones. Unaware that the drones were tracking him, the Russian soldier continued walking until he was struck by an FPV drone attack. The soldier sat down next to an armored vehicle that had been previously disabled and wanted to rest. At that moment, an FPV drone approaching from behind targeted the Russian soldier directly. 2 Russian soldiers were spotted cutting wires belonging to the Ukrainian defense and were neutralized. An unmanned ground vehicle used by Russian forces to transport supplies on the front lines. However, this vehicle was neutralized by an FPV drone. Russian forces have now started using unmanned aerial vehicles and ground vehicles, similar to Ukrainian forces. Russian soldiers, whose path was blocked by a Ukrainian kamikaze drone, immediately got out of the vehicle and fled, but their vehicle was destroyed. The soldier hiding inside an abandoned house failed to hide from the drone. Russian soldiers are now choosing to move through forests rather than roads to protect themselves from drone attacks. But this isn't enough to stop experienced Ukrainian drone pilots. Ukrainian FPV drones entered the forests and targeted Russian soldiers. Many Russian soldiers who thought they were safe found themselves facing drones. A Russian soldier on a motorcycle became the target of an FPV drone. When the soldier saw the drone approaching at high speed, he tried to hide among the trees but was too late. Here, yet another soldier becomes the drone's target in the same way. The Ukrainian 79th Separate Air Assault Brigade targeted Russian motorcycle troops in the Donetsk region. FPV drones lying in wait along the Russian troops' transit routes captured the Russian soldiers, causing significant damage. They also infiltrated various Russian positions deep within the forest, rendering Russian military vehicles ineffective. This time, the footage is directly from Ukrainian soldiers. Ukrainian soldiers advancing toward the front in an ATV suddenly encountered a Russian FPV drone, but without panicking, they immediately took cover and tried to shoot down the drone. However, the drone tried to hide behind the trees. To avoid being an easy target, one soldier moved further into the forest, while the other successfully shot down the Russian FPV drone. The Ukrainian soldiers continued on their way without any harm. The Ukrainian drone attack group Incognito bombed Russian positions with drones. The trenches where Russian soldiers were located were rendered ineffective one by one with high explosive bombs. Let's take a look at this attack through the drone's camera. It is clear that Russian soldiers are inside. 2 Russian soldiers who failed to escape the attack lost their lives there. Here is another Russian position built underground. Russian reconnaissance and spy drones were shot down one by one by Ukrainian forces. Attacks were carried out using FPV drones. Russian drones were being used to identify Ukrainian positions and targets along the front line. Reconnaissance drones worth thousands of dollars are being rendered ineffective by FPV drones costing only a few $100s. As Russian forces are unable to gather sufficient intelligence along the front line, their activities on the front are gradually weakening. Ukrainian FPV drones detected a different drone flying along the front line. The characteristics of this reconnaissance aircraft are unknown. However, the anti-aircraft gunners of the 63rd Brigade proved that it was not a miracle weapon. A Russian unmanned aerial vehicle entering the port area skies was successfully shot down. Here, a soldier trying to hide among the bushes becomes the target of a drone, and a Russian soldier surrenders. Ukraine's 63rd Mechanized Brigade carried out numerous drone attacks over the past month, conducting critical and sensitive operations on the front lines. Here is a mortar left unprotected outside the Russian position. It was neutralized by drones. Russian forces continue to lose equipment due to these mistakes. The FPV drone that infiltrated the Russian military garage destroyed many Russian vehicles in the same way. The Ukrainian 63rd Mechanized Brigade continues to be recognized as the Ukrainian unit inflicting the heaviest losses on Russian forces on the front lines. It is steadily weakening Russian forces by carrying out continuous drone attacks. The drone pilot of the Signum Battalion was searching for Russian military targets in the direction of Seversk and detected a suspicious structure. As the drone approached, it was determined that there was a Russian BM-21 multiple rocket launcher inside. The drone made a careful maneuver, entered the structure, and targeted the vehicle. A huge explosion occurred. The rocket launcher system was probably loaded with ammunition. Russian armored vehicles got stuck in the swamp and became immobile. Russian soldiers abandoned their tanks and armored vehicles and fled when they couldn't get them out. However, Ukrainian forces couldn't leave these vehicles behind. To prevent the armored vehicles from being used again by Russian forces, the military vehicles were completely disabled using FPV drones. Drone clashes between Ukrainian and Russian forces continue to intensify. While soldiers from both countries continue to suffer heavy losses from drones, Russian forces are now largely focused on defense rather than offense.